Visa Starfrost.
What is going on, guys? Rogue TCG here, bringing the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG deck profile you all voted for, and I am very happy to be bringing it to you. Here is Visa Starfrost. Now, this deck is actually super cool. It did get a couple of hits somewhat recently, although I guess it was a little bit further away now since time is progressing in a linear fashion, of course. It lost like Appaloosa, it lost like, the Crimson Dragon stuff you could do with Baron and stuff like that. However, the deck is still very competent, and I am very excited to be bringing it to you. So that's enough yapping about what the deck could have done previously in the past. I want to go over the card by card and talk about what it can do now. Starting off, of course, we are on 2 copies of Vsauce Starfrost. This card reads, if it's in your hand, you can target a monster you control with a different type and attribute than this card, destroy that monster, and if you use special summon this card, and that is a hard once per turn. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can make this card gain attack equal to half the monster's original attack or defense, whichever is higher, your choice if tied. Now, the on-field effect is not very good, unfortunately, but the in-hand effect is fantastic, especially when paired with how the Mannadiums work in general. And since this is a Manadium deck primarily, most of the cards will have to synergize with those cards. But since this is a Vsauce Starfrost deck, I'm opting to play 2. I've seen lists that play 3, but from what I've seen, a majority of lists tend to opt to play 2 of those cards. We're also on 3 copies of Vsauce Starfrost, Visa Samsara. This card is a level 4 fairy tuner. It is a light monster. The card's name becomes Visa Starfrost while in the field or in the graveyard. You can target any number of Vsauces that are banished or in your graveyard or on your field. Shuffle those Vsauces into the deck, and if you do, special summon this card from your hand. And if you do, it gains attack equal to the amount of monsters you shuffle back with different names. And that is, you can only use that effect of Vsauce once per turn. And if a monster we control uses synchro material, we can treat it as a non-tuner. So it's great. It's a level 4. It can be a tuner. It can be a non-tuner. It can summon itself from hand if you want to. It's Vsauce Starfrost. The stat line is 1500, 2100, which is really relevant in this deck. So it's just a fantastic card. It's great that you don't need to shuffle all of your Vsauces. You can just shuffle 1 into deck and just call it a day, But from what I've seen, a lot of people are opting to either play 2 or 3 of this card, and I like it a lot, so I'm opting to play 3, just because the goal of the deck is to make Astrolaud frequently and often. We are on 3 copies of Vsauce Starfrost, Mannadium Ruinheart. During the main phase of this card is in your hand. Quick effect, you can target 1 Mannadium monster you control or 1 monster you control with 1500 attack or 2100 defense. Destroy it, and if you do, special summon this card. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add 1 Mannadium monster from your deck to your hand, except for Mannadium Ruinheart, and you can only use each effect of Ruinheart once per turn. So that is also why, I said Vsauce Starfrost jokingly, because you can see, the characters are very similar. I know the lore, they're all different characters, but in reality, that is why we're playing Triple Samsara, because it is our only real other Visa Starfrost that we have access to other than the OG Vsauce. And in my opinion, Samsara is just a little bit better, just because you are able to special summon it, you are able to normal summon it, unlike Visa Starfrost, as well as the ability to be treated as a non-tuner, which Vsauce Starfrost does not have the capability of doing. But Ruinheart is really good because it synergizes incredibly well with our Mannadium monsters, has a very similar summoning effect as the original Vsauce, but also has the added benefit where it has an actual good other effect, unlike Vsauce, where on summon it just gets to add a Mannadium card from deck to hand except for itself, which can allow us to really get off to the races. We are on 2 copies of Vsauce Starfrost, but Scary Mode, Scareclaw Reichart. You can special summon this card from your hand to a main monster zone adjacent to a Scareclaw monster you control, or in its own column. You only special summon it once per turn this way. If it's normal or special summon, you can add a Scareclaw spell trap from your deck to your hand. Then if 3 more defensive position monsters on the field, you can draw 1 card. You can use this effect of Reichart once per turn. Now, we're not really going to get that draw too frequently unless we're really pining for it. However, the on-summon being able to add a Scareclaw card is incredible. The fact that this is a Scareclaw itself means we can add it off of the field spell, which we add off the Funko Pop, so, really fantastic stuff here. We're just playing 2 of it, so we're always able to add it with the field spell, just because it's a good card even regardless, so that is the reason why we're playing 2. Now for our Mannadium cards. For our Mannadium monsters, we're on triple Mannadium Meek. It's a Fairy Tuner level 2. If you control Visa Starfrost or a monster with 1500 attack or a 2100 defense, you can special summon this card from your hand, and you can only special summon Meek once per turn that way. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon one Meek from your deck and then increase its level by 2. That is a can. We can increase its level. We don't have to increase its level, and this is the reason why our Ruin Heart and our Starfrost are so good, because we have cards that actually want to be popped in order to get beneficial effects and just get more and more advantage. Because if you think about it this way, if we have our Samsara and we have our Starfrost, we pop our Meek, we're able to summon another Meek, and then we have a level 4 tuner and then a level 4 either a tuner or a non-tuner with Samsara, in which we're able to do kind of whatever we really want. I'm also opting to play 2 copies of Mannadium Torrid. This is just additional copies of Meek in reality. This card reads, if you control Visa Starfrost or a monster with 1500 attack and 2100 defense, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can special summon Torrid once per turn that way. If it's destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon a Mannadium Tuner from your deck, and that is a hard once per turn. That is slightly different than our Meek, which Meek will only summon another copy of itself, but then it'll also give you the option to increase its level. Torrid can summon either another Torrid or another Meek, which is useful for playing the attribute game, but also is just useful to having additional names in the deck. It's just more copies of Meek, and then without actually using the Meek effect, if we need to pop another card, we can pop the Meek we then just summoned off the Torrid in order to get another Meek to get that level modulation effect. But that's it for our main deck, like Mannadium monsters. I guess might as well a little bit editing in post. But we are also playing 2 copies of Kashtira Fenrir and 1 copy of Scareclaw Kashtira. These are just cards to invigorate our deck when we're going second, or even when we're going first. It helps us increase the ceiling of our combo. Fenrir is like a weird little piece of interaction that we can just leave on board, and it kind of annoys our opponent. And it will also have the ability to add our Scareclaw Kashtira, which we are able to utilize since we are playing a number of searchable Scareclaw cards in the deck, and it has the ability to banish Scareclaws from the graveyard in order to summon itself from hand, which is just fantastic. But that's it for our monsters that aren't hand traps. Now let's go to our spell and trap lineup. We're on triple copies of Peaceful Planet Calarium. When this card's activated, we can add a Mannadium monster or Vsauce Starfrost from deck to hand. Light monsters we control gain 100 attack for each tuner we control in our graveyard. If a face-up tuner we control is destroyed by battle or card effect, we can target one of those monsters and summon it. And that is just the end of the sentence. And that is a hard once per turn. And we can only activate one of those cards per turn. So this card is great. If we have this on field, it turns our Meeks into double. So for example, if you pop a Meek and then we use Meek effect, Chainlink 1, Calarium is going to be Chainlink 2. Calarium is going to summon the Meek from our graveyard, the one we just popped, and then Meek is going to summon another Meek from our deck, allowing us to go into some more plays. So really great stuff there. Being able to either search Vsauce or the Mannadium is also fantastic. So yeah, no issues here, and we are playing 3 of this card. For more Mannadium spells, we're on 2 copies of Mannadium Obsidian. We can target a monster we control, destroy, and if we do add a Peaceful Planet Calarium from our deck to our hand, or if we control a Peaceful Planet Calarium already, we can add a Mannadium spell or trap instead, except for itself. And we can banish this card from our graveyard to special summon a Visa Starfrost or a monster with 1500 attack, 2100 defense from our hand, and we can only use each effect of Obsidian once per turn. So, fantastic card all around, allowing us to summon our Visa Samsara without even having to shuffle cards back, able to summon our Ruin Heart without popping, our Right Heart without having Scareclaws. Just a fantastic card. Being able to either search the field spell if we don't have it, and it's just so fantastic that it has the line of text where if we do have the field spell, we can search anything else, which is great because even if we don't have the field spell, we can search our next card on the list, being Mannadium Imaginings. This card reads, you can reveal a Mannadium or a Visa Starfrost in our hand, draw 2 cards, and then place 1 card on our hand on the bottom of the deck. We can banish this card from our graveyard, target 1 monster we control, 1500 attack, 2100 defense, and then we can treat it until a tuner until the end of the turn. So again, another fantastic card, being able to cycle through our cards. This card is searchable, so we're only playing 1 because we can grab it whenever we really want. And it allows us to turn our Ruin Heart or our Right Heart into a tuner if need be, which is just amazing. We are on our Scareclaw engine, one copy of Permanent Planet Reichphobia. When it's activated, you can add a Scareclaw or a Visa Starfrost from deck to hand. Monster opponent controls lose 100 attack and defense for each defense position monster on the field. If 3 or more defense position monsters are on the field, we can target one card our opponent controls, ignition effect, and then if we destroy it. And that is a once per turn. So, just a fantastic card. It's just removal too, so it's really a lot better when going second. If we wanted to set up that Reichheart draw card, we can most definitely set up that Reichphobia Papa card. And then our other Scareclaw card is going to be 2 copies of Scareclaw Arrival. We can target a Scareclaw or a Visa Starfrost in our graveyard, special summon it in defense position. And if a Scareclaw Link monster we control be destroyed by a battle or card effect, we can banish this card from our graveyard instead. Now, that graveyard protection effect isn't as relevant in this deck than it is in Scareclaw specifically. However, this is just a searchable copy of Monster Reborn, either for our copy of Scareclaw Reichheart or for our copies of Visa Starfrost that are in the graveyard. So, just another fantastic card, and we're playing 2 of it because we don't even mind drawing it because it's just a Monster Reborn. And it's also another like a Scareclaw name, so because it's a Scareclaw name that we're going to be activating throughout the course of our turn, and it's going to be sent to the graveyard, even though it has a graveyard effect to protect cards, we're not actually going to be using it. In fact, this card is actually going to be used as fodder to summon our Scareclaw Kashtira. And then our last in-engine card is going to be 1 copy of Mannadium Reframing. When a spell, trap card, or monster effect is activated, we control a synchro monster, negate the activation, and if we can have a Visa Starfrost or a monster with 1500 or 2100 defense on our field or in our graveyard, we can destroy the negated card. You can banish this card from your graveyard, target up to 3 Mannadium monsters in your graveyard, and shuffle them in the deck, and then we can use each effect of reframing once per turn. Now, that graveyard effect might seem a little bit iffy, even because he doesn't even give us a draw. However, it does allow us to reset our Mannadium Meeks and Torrids if we have cycled through them previously in the turn, so we're able to just keep utilizing it. And the negation is just you know, the typical counter trap that they give almost any archetype. It's just really fantastic. And it is going to be a critical part of most of your end boards if you can get to it. For our non-engine, or at least supplemental engine pieces rather, we're on 1 copy of Terraforming in order to search either Calarium or Reichphobia if we don't think we can get to the Funko Pop or don't want to go to the Funko Pop. 1 copy of Reinforcement of the Army because Roomheart and Reichheart are both warriors, so we are able to search either or with this card. 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talents and 1 copy of Called by the Grave for hand trap mitigation. And then for hand traps, we are playing triple copies of Infinite Impermanence, triple copies of Effect Failure, and triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. The one downside of this deck is I don't think that it can play very much non-engine unless you're like buffing out the deck space. You can see I'm already at 42 cards, and like there's just isn't much room for more hand traps. So that's the one downside, is if you do play this deck, you either have to play 60 cards in order to play a lot of hand traps, or you have to just deal with not playing a lot of hand traps, which is kind of like a trade-off that you have to make in your heart of hearts, like if that's something that you want to do. But that's it for our main deck. Now let us go head over to our extra. In our extra, we're on 1 copy of Cross Sheet because we do summon fusions, 1 copy of Espinous Little Knight in order to just utilize the functionality of our Funko Pop, 2 copies of the Funko Pop. It needs a Scareclaw or a Visa Starfrost. If it is Link summoned, we can only use monsters in our main monster zone as material. If this card is Link summoned to the EMZ, we can add 1 Primitive Planet Reichphobia from our deck to our hand, and then if we control a Visa Starfrost, we can special summon this card from our graveyard, but the special summoning from graveyard is a hard once per duel. Now, the summoning from graveyard might seem a little bit iffy, however, this is just another card that we can target to pop with either our Visa Starfrost or another card. Because this is a Beast Warrior Dark and Visa Starfrost is a Warrior Light, it is completely different types and attributes, so we are able to pop it. As well as the fact that even if we don't want to pop it, we can bring it back from the graveyard and we can just go into a super easy Cross Sheet or even just an SP Little Knight, like just to get that free banished, which is just so nice. For our synchros, since we are a synchro heavy strategy, we are playing 1 Mannadium Triscuta. This card needs a tuner and non-tuner. It's a level 5 fairy synchro tuner. If it's synchro summoned, we can target a 1 level 2 tuner in our graveyard to special summon it but negate its effects. And we can target any number of tuners we control, change the levels to 2, and also we cannot special summon them from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, except for synchro monsters. And then each Triscuta effect is a once per turn. It's a pretty alright effect. It's pretty good for climbing into more cards. It just immediately makes an 8 since it is a level 6, but the main downside to this card is it does lock us out of the extra deck except for synchros for the rest of the turn. So we want to make sure we get all of our plays out that aren't synchros before we use this card. We're on 1 copy of Visas Amritara. This card is a Warrior Synchro Tuner, and it is a level 8. So we ideally, we want to be making this with Triscuta plus one of the Mannadiums we brought back with this effect. And this card reads, it becomes Visa Starfrost while in the field. We can only use each of the following effects of Visas Amritara once per turn. Once per turn, if this card is Synchro Summoned, we can add a spell trap that mentions Visa Starfrost from our deck to our hand. And then during the main phase, we can destroy one monster we control. Also, all Synchro monsters we control will gain 800 attack this turn. This card is just a way to search a card that mentions Visa Starfrost from deck to hand. And it also has the ability to destroy a monster we control in order to both trigger our Calarium as well as triggering our Meek in order to just get a little bit of free advantage. So overall, a fantastic card. I do think you have to play this card in the deck just because, again, it searches a card that mentions Visa Starfrost. It seems pretty critical. We're on one copy of Ash Dragon. This card on summon allows us to special summon one level 2 or lower tuner from our graveyard. And then during the main phase quick effect, we can tribute to special summon a Stardust Dragon from the extra deck and is treated as a Synchro. And then immediately after the effect resolves, we immediately Synchro again. We're not playing Stardust, so that effect isn't relevant. But the main relevant thing is this turns a level 8 Synchro into a level 10 Synchro without having to use too many extra effects. If we have the ability to make Amritaro, instead we can just make our Stardust Dragon, summon the level 2 tuner, and then we can go into a card like Bestial Dispater, because guess what? Ash Dragon is a non-tuner dragon monster, which Dispater needs. We're on one copy of Adamancipator Risen Dragite. We do have waters in the deck, being Manadium Meek. This is something that I am personally testing. I haven't seen any lists as of yet playing Dragite, but I just think it is a neat inclusion because we need a spot to fill for Baron. I'm going to be completely for real. Baron was in this deck. We needed a spot to fill it in. Here's Dragite, baby. Here's Dragite. Enjoy your spell negate. Enjoy searching a rock, dummy. But it's just a good card otherwise. It's just a spell negate if you have a water in graveyard. It's just a generic 8. It's just pretty all around, pretty alright. We're on one Changing. This card is actually really good in this deck. It's also a water, funny enough, because I just mentioned it with Dragite. But actually, I think I'm going to mention this card a little bit more in depth once we get to Astrolaud, which they're a pair made in heaven, trust me. We're on one copy of Mannadium Prime Heart. This one isn't really typically run in decks. This was either substituted with Baron or Crimson Dragon, which we are not playing because there's only one dragon monster in the extra deck that's worth summoning on our opponent's turn anymore, being Bestial Dispater. And before, you would make a Baron, use the Baron effect, and after you use the Baron, you'd go Crimson Dragon to bounce the Crimson Dragon in order to summon out the Dispater. But, you know, no more Baron, so we're rocking with Mannadium Prime Heart, baby. This card is a tuner and one light plus one light monster, or sorry, 1 plus tuners plus 1 light monster. My apologies. So this is one of the cards that needs one non-tuner. You can use multiple tuners, so really fantastic for the Mannadiums. And it can attack a number of times each battle phase, up to the number of tuners used for a Synchro Summon. If this card was Synchro Summon using Mannadium Tuner's material, it cannot be targeted with card effects from your opponent. If this face-up Synchro Summon card in its owner's control leaves the field because an opponent's card, we can target one of our monsters with 1500 attack, 2000 defense, or a Visa Starfrost that's banished in our graveyard, and summon it. So, just a fantastic card. It doesn't actually do anything, per se. It is just a big bungai. But sometimes just a big bungai is all you really need. This is also a very cuttable card. You know, if you find something better or you have something better to do, something that my pea-brain couldn't, comprehend, feel free to cut this card and include it. I just think it's very funny swinging like 3 times at this card, We're on one Chaos Angle. I can be your Angle or I can be your Devil. Just a really good Synchro card. We can make 10s or playing lights or playing darks. It can make our Synchros like OP as shit, so that's the reason we're playing it. And then one copy of Bestial Hey Peter, in order to negate cards or just pop cards. Now, let's get to Vicious Astrolaud, one of the main reasons to be playing this deck. Very similar to Yubel with the Yubel fusion, Spirit of Yubel, or Phantom of Yubel, I can't seem to remember which one it was. but Vicious Astrolaud is one of those cards that doesn't actually have a hard once per turn on its summon. Must be special summoned from your extra deck by banishing the above cards from your field and or graveyard. Cannot be destroyed by battle. If this card is special summoned, we can target one other monster from the field, destroy it, and if we do, this card gains attack equal to half that monster's original attack or defense, whichever is higher. It has the same effect as Visa Starfrost, except it just can't be destroyed by battle. When it's summoned, we get to pop a card on field, and then it gets to gain the attack. Unlike Visa Starfrost, where it has to destroy the thing by battle, this one gets to immediately gain the attack, so it actually makes the effect, good. But if you haven't noticed on this card, there is not a singular once per turn anywhere on this thing. So as long as you can just get a Vsauce and a Vsauce adjacent monster in the graveyard, you can just keep shitting these bad boys out as much as you want. I've seen a lot of lists playing with 3 of them, and I was very tempted to play 3 of them, and that is a very reasonable reason if you wanted to cut Prime Heart. But I'm just opting to play 2 of it because I don't think more than 2 is actually really going to come up. And this card is just very powerful and can end games by itself. Just because you summon 2 of it, you pop 2 monsters, it gains the attack. And now you have 2 monsters that are probably above 4,500 attack, just chilling on board. Your opponent's 2 monsters down. Like, do you really think they're going to live? Like, be so for real. And then that is the reason why Chengying is so good, because this card allows us to banish a card from our opponent's field and from their graveyard when a card is banished, which counts when fulfilling the summoning requirement of Vicious Astrolaud, which means on our turn we get to, get that, and then we get to do it if our opponent banishes something else on their turn, or if we have a way to banish something during their turn as well. It just makes Chungus and Astrolaud a match made in heaven. If we get Chungus out first, we get to also banish a card from their graveyard and from their field, as well as popping 2 cards if we manage to get 2 Astrolauds on board, which just definitely signals the end of the game. And then our last card is Super Star Slayer Typhon Sky Crisis. Just a good card. Again, another cuttable card if you have something better that you wanted to slot in. This is just kind of like one of those SP Little Knight situations where it's just a really fantastic card. But also the Astrolaud is, I just wanted to cycle back just a little bit more back around to the Astrolaud, because Astrolaud also synergizes very well with Cross Sheep. So we just get to summon it to a zone, Cross Sheep gets to bring a card back, and then we can keep performing Synchro summons. Also, if we perform a Synchro on Zone of Cross Sheep, we get a buff to all of our monsters for 700 attack, allowing the OTK to be even easier. But that's about it for the deck profile. Other cards you might want to consider is Ghost Ogre Snow Rabbit and Triple Tactics Thrust. Thrust is pretty good if you choose to play a lot of normal spells or want to play some normal traps like Imperm. It's just pretty all around all right. Can grab cards that you need and all that. But that's going to be about it for the deck profile. Thank you all so much for watching, if you still are. Thank you, my well member. Thank you, Ari. If you want to become a member, I recommend sticking around to the end of the video. I always go into more detail around then about how what benefits you get for being a member. But that's going to be about the end of the video. Thank you all so much for watching, if you still are, and I'll be seeing you all later. Bye-bye. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you wanted to talk to more Yu-Gi-Oh! Players like yourself, I would highly recommend checking out our Discord server. Link is going to be in the description, as well as the QR code on screen. We do talk somewhat frequently about Yu-Gi-Oh! And the current meta, so I would really enjoy to see you there. As well as we do recently now have channel memberships available on our YouTube channel, where we have 3 different tiers. We have Super Supporter at $2 a month, where you get loyalty badges, emojis, guaranteed comment responses, a shout out at the end of every video, as well as access to the members only Discord channel, where you get early sneak peeks at future videos. There is the Giga Supporter at $5 a month, where you have early access to all new videos about a day or 2 before they go up, as well as all the previous offers. And for $15 a month, we do have our final tier, which is going to be Femboy Fanatic. You get a guaranteed customized video every single month, as well as 1 hour of my time. Could be for anything you'd like. You want a duel? Absolutely. You want me to help build a deck? Absolutely. You want to play some Helldivers? Sure. I'll do anything for an hour once a month. But supporting does help me out quite a lot, and it does help me produce all of these videos. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be seeing y'all later. Bye-bye.